What up, Hawks? Good morning. Hey, Mr. Allen here. Video 2 of your gauge block. So if you guys recall, where we left off was we took a 13 or 14 long inch piece of wood, 2x4, right? We used Fusion. We learned how to design in 2D geometry first by sketching. Then we actually learned to, once those black lines were all, the blue lines were all black, got to turn that into a model, added some depth. We added some material. Pine wood was the material we added. We ended up taking that 13 or 14 inch long piece of 2x4. We cut it down to what, 13 or 12, right, in Fusion. And then we also actually went from 4 inches to 3.5, 2 inches from 1 to 1.5, because that's a realistic actual size. We talked about nominal versus actual sizes. We saved that sucker, and then we went into our miter saw in the wood studio, all right? You guys then hopefully took care of that, and here we are. So at this point in time, we're gonna go from the miter saw to the surface planer, or the joiner and or. So what those two things are gonna do is they're just gonna take off little pieces of wood on the surface of your wood to kind of help smooth out the wood. It's also gonna make it look nicer. It's gonna take off any dirt or ink, or pencil markings, right, that you have on that wood. Again, Home Depot, Menards, they get the wood from a lumber company. It's going to be dirty, it might be wet, right? So taking off those edges and that face, it kind of makes it look nice and neat. Now, also, most importantly, the reason why we want to use a surface planer or joiner to even out the faces of the wood is when you put it on a bed, you don't want it to teeter-totter. It's going to be dangerous for your blade, potentially, bend your blade and cause some injury. So when we put a piece of wood on the bed of a planer, miter saw, table saw, we want it to lay flush. We don't want it to rock, so we're good. So we got to take off some of that surface to make it look perfect. Not only on the face, which is the wide part, but if you turn it up on edge, we got to do it on the edges as well. All right, so that's why we're using the planer. That's why we're using the joiner to do those things. If we have a 3-inch piece of wood and we're going to actually take off a little bit more, we're going to use the table saw to rip. We call it a rip. We're going to run it down the side of the fence, and we're going to take off another 1/4 inch. So before we do it in the wood studio for real, we're going to go into Fusion. We're going to take our 3.5 inch deep board that we have right now, or height, and we're going to come down to 3.25 to match what that piece of wood would look like after we get done ripping on the table saw. Okay. We're also going to take that 1.5 inch deep Fusion drawing that we have, and we're going to modify it so it's an 1.25 inch because we're going to run that on the planer. Okay. We're going to run that on the planer. And now we have a little bit thinner board that looks really nice, and it's all level, okay? It's also gonna match our blueprint. So at the very end of the day, as you guys saw earlier, we had a blueprint. We had a blueprint in our classwork, and the blueprint looks something like this, okay? As you can tell, again, we've got 12 inches total in terms of length. We got 3.25 that we got to get to. We're right now at 3.5, and we've also got a thickness of 1.25 inches. Right now we are at 1.5 inches. So joiner reasons, planer reasons, right? All that good stuff. Okay. All right, so here we go. So before we do all that in the wood studio by hand, we're going to do it in Fusion. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to go back into our sketches, or we can use a timeline, right? Double click on your extrusion, and now instead of 1.5. When we get done planing this or using a joiner, it's going to take us 1.25 inches. So it's that easy. Just click on your timeline of your extrusion, change your depth, 1.5 to 1.25, boom, it automatically does it real time. It's me. If I Control S, it's going to save over the top of your existing drawing that you saved, right? And then you're going to do the same thing for the face. So if I go into my sketches or down here, double click on it, and no longer are we at 3.5. If you guys recall, we are at 3.25 now because of the joiner or maybe the planer that we used, okay, to knock off some more of that wood. So all you're going to do, double click on that boy right there. 3.25 is the new height. We're going to hit finish the sketch. Again, hit that home key. Double click your mouse wheel like a button. It centers it. And guys, that's pretty much it for that guy right there, okay? All right, so that's the reasons why we took it off. Joiner and planer, boom, got it, okay? All right, now we're going to go into using the table saw because we want to create what we call these dado cuts. So these little pieces of wood that's been cut out, looks like a cross, okay? And we gotta take out that wood. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the extrusion on it. Now, if you remember right, we shape a geometry sketch, we constrain it, vertical, parallel, perpendicular lines, right? And then we extrude it. We extruded that first block of wood, right? A couple inches at the very beginning by adding material, all right? So there's one way to extrude, by addition. This guy, this cross, we need to subtract material. It's still called an extrusion. Extrusions can be addition or subtraction. We're getting ready to subtract, okay? So we gotta create the geometry of that cross as a sketch before we extrude, okay? Hopefully you understand that. So I'm gonna go back into that block, okay? We are gonna do a new sketch, because we gotta do geometry, on that face. Click on that face as you hover, and it's gonna line it up right there, okay? So now, the software thinks you're getting ready to sketch on this guy, okay? Now, what is the shape? What is the shape of this extrusion? It is a cross, agreed? It's a cross. So I'm just gonna shape out a cross. You can use the line command, which again, is a little fish hook, or if you're like, hey, I wanna use rectangles. It looks something like this. Again, guys, I'm shaping it. You're probably thinking, Alan, why did you put it there? You don't even know exactly where it goes. I don't care. Again, shape it, constrain it, extrude it. So I'm literally just making two little crosses. Don't care if the size is right. Don't care if the location, because I'm getting ready to change that in a second. Shape it. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay? All right. At this point, now I want to constrain it. I shaped it. So I constrain it with the red buttons. We got to figure out where it is. So if I'm looking at this guy, okay, it's telling me that the distance from one corner to this guy is 1 5/8 inches, which again, decimal format's 0.65, okay? So if you guys can go in and do some quick math, right? I'm gonna probably go up here to my dimensioning tool, or D on your keyboard. I'm gonna go from this corner to here, and I'm gonna say 1 5/8 inches, which is 0.625. Right, there we go. So again, going back to your blueprint, if you're reading it up, we've got that. Now, the actual dado cut is 1/2 inch. So we're gonna go ahead and do the same thing with this guy, right? 0.5 is your size of your cut, okay? All right. All right, at the very end, we wanna figure out where the cross goes. Well, it says from this corner, if you follow along this dimension line, it's 8 inches to the start of the cross. So boom, we're gonna go here to the start of the cross is this, 8 inches. It's starting to turn those lines black, which is a good thing. And then finally, the width of this cross is 1/2 inch. So again, from click and click, 0.5. All the lines are black, which means they're all constrained. And now we went shape it, to constrain it, to extrude it. We're good, okay? Hang in there. If it was me, Control S, or save early, save often. Okay, top right, let's go ahead and finish the sketch. My advice before, click on that home button, give that isometric view so you can see what's going on, okay? Now at this point, we're gonna go back and do the same thing we did when we first added material. All we're doing is extruding, keystroke E, but this time we're subtracting. So we're gonna click on that geometry, click, 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 and click, and then we're gonna go back to our blueprint, and we're gonna figure out how deep is this extrusion, right? How deep is it? So if you're looking at it, you're trying to look at some of the notes and things to figure out how deep we go, okay? I tell you what, we're gonna come back, we're just gonna give it a certain depth, and again, I'm just gonna give it 1/2 inch, right? It says it's going this way, so I need to go the opposite way because we're subtracting. So I'm just gonna put a negative in front of it because that negative just represents the direction, all right? So I put a negative, it's a cut, it's not a joining material, it's cutting, and just hit okay. And guys, there you go. Now, I don't know if 1/2 inch is for certain because we haven't confirmed it. We'll come back and hit that on video number 3. Again, Control S, save early, save often. But this right here is your video number 2, and we're doing this dado cut on the table saw. So now you've got the miter saw, the planer, the joiner, and now the table saw in your repertoire. All right. So have a good day. We'll catch you on the Flippy Flip video number 3 coming up soon.